Hey everyone, welcome back to the Half Soybean channel. My name is Sharon and today we are going to be making a really easy wrap skirt. It can be altered to be a midi length, whatever you want, but I think it's going to be really easy, so I'm excited to share this with you. Okay, so today what you will need is 1.5 times the largest part of your body, so that might be around your bum most likely. That's how much fabric we will need to make the wrap skirt. You can get a little bit extra just to be safe. Lengthwise, I think I'm going to do around 60 centimeters or so because I'm quite short, but you can make it even shorter if you're looking to make it a mini skirt, or longer if you want it to make a maxi skirt. You know, that's totally up to you. Just make sure that you have a little bit of extra fabric left to make the waistband and the ties. Alright, let's get down to pattern making straight away. This wrap skirt is a straight down type of silhouette, and you can flare the bottom to make it A-line if you wish, but I thought this version was easier for beginners. First, we are going to be making the back panel, which is the skirt piece covering your bum. The width of the fabric should be the width of your bum plus seam allowance, say an inch or so. Then we have 2 darts so that it accounts for half your waist circumference. I'll explain the darts more in detail in a later section, so just keep watching. Now let's do the front panels. Using your front hip width plus seam allowance, minus 1 inch from this. These only have 1 dart each and they sit 5 inches from either edge. These darts don't have to be as big as the back panel ones that go over your bum, which obviously has a bigger curvature. The waistband and ties are hopefully pretty self-explanatory, but it should be as wide as your front and back panels, plus some seam allowance. The tie lengths are adjustable and up to you, but I did about 30 inches. It should be long enough to wrap around half your waist and still have a bit extra to tie a bow at the end. Do you ever have to feed your elastic through the little tube, but then you can't find any spare safety pins around? Because that always happens to me. I picked up these safety pin earrings from Ana Luisa. I have realized that they double up as a fantastic durable safety pin, but they are also super cute earrings. And if you're interested in buying them, please use my code SharonC10 to get 10% off. I'm just going to start off by cutting my fabric. I said 60 centimeters before, but we are going for about 75, considering in how much is going to be taken at the top and the bottom. Cutting it is so easy because it's a check fabric, and that means you are always cutting straight, I think. More or less. Because my fabric was 1 meter in length, I'm trimming some of the end as that would be too long for me. I've now cut off about 30 centimeters off the bottom, so that's 30 centimeters high and 1.5 meters wide, and I'm going to be using this piece to make the waistband and also the ties. Now let's get into making the back and front panels. I cut my bum width for the back panel. If you put it behind you, then it looks like this. So we know it fits now, yeah? That's what you want to do. I'm cutting the front panels, and little did I know at this point that I was cutting them too small. It was such a silly mistake, but just a lesson for me to double check my numbers in the future. This fabric was also really difficult to iron for some reason. It was honestly such a nightmare, but I pushed through. With the darts of my bum panel, I divided the fabric width by 4, and I'm placing them on the first quarter and the third quarter of the width. My darts ended up being 2 inches wide and 6 inches in length. Even though I marked 5 inches in this footage, I ended up changing it later. When you sew your darts, rather than doing a back stitch, just do a regular straight stitch without going back and forth on the ends, and just tie those loose threads afterwards. This gives a much flatter and clean finish on your darts. I really can't believe that I didn't realize that my front pieces were wrong, because now that I'm looking at this footage, they look so tiny. But anyway, with these darts, the darts are 5 inches from the outer sides, so for the left panel it will be 5 inches from the left, and the right panel will be 5 inches from the right. As I said before, these darts don't have to be as big as the back panel, and so I did 1 inch darts and the length was 4 inches. I've put in 1 for the left panel here, 1 for the right panel, and then we've got 2 in the back panel. I'm going to finish them off with a French seam just because I'm so lazy today and I don't want to get out the overlooker. Usually when you sew things together, you do right sides together, but because we're going to finish it off with a French seam today, we are going to attach them wrong sides together. I'm going to sew down this side and also this side, and I will teach you how to do the French seam. So putting wrong sides together, just do a regular schmegular straight stitch as you would down the length of the skirt. Then give the excess fabric a trim to leave about 0.3 millimeters, but don't cut into your stitch, obviously. You fold it so that the clean edge is now on the outside, and then you just sew down. And then you just sew down the side of it. That edge looks nice because I flipped it so that it is now right sides together. Then you just sew a straight stitch 1/2 centimeter or so from the edge, give it a press, and that's what your French seam should look like on the inside of your skirt. I have made such a classic Sharon mistake, and it's diving into a project without making the proper measurements.
If we don't make this mistake, I will make sure that the pattern measurements and everything is going to be correct for you.
I just decided to add some extra fabric to the skirt to make it a little bit bigger. There was no real other option, but it wasn't too detrimental because of the check pattern. You can't really tell extra fabric has been attached on. Because I matched up the plaid, the check, you can't really see it. So I think it's okay. I feel a little bit deflated because I thought I could like power through this, but then now I took such a detour with this whole measurement issue. It's gonna look okay. I'm just going to fold the edges in twice and sew a straight stitch down. Finish off all the raw edges excluding the top part, so the sides and bottom with a double fold hem, and you should be good to go. If you've made it this far, you're on the last stretch. Cut out your pieces, whatever it is that you measured according to the pattern from earlier on. And with the ties, I just pressed it in half right sides together, sewed along one side and flipped them inside out, gave them another press. With the waistband, fold 1 centimeter on either side and press. This is what the waistband should look like. So you fold like 1 centimeter here, and then you fold 1 centimeter here, iron that down, fold it in half. The trick is though, when you fold it in half, make one side like 1 millimeter or so smaller, and that actually saves you so much time because you can sew the smaller side onto the inside of a skirt, and then you can just top stitch down that straight onto it. To make the holes, wrap the waistband around your waist, and you can have the hole on the left or the right, it doesn't really matter, but just have the waistband sit on you as it would sit on the final skirt. Then make the cut 10 centimeters smaller than your waist, and this actually gives room for you to adjust your ties when you are bloated or not. We just cut here. Now what you want to do is open it up, them right sides together like so, and we are going to mark where we want to sew down so that we can make a hole in the waistband. Give about a 1 centimeter seam allowance, so you'll need to open it up. And what you do is you want to draw a line here, and then that's about 1 centimeter, and measure how much you need of space to fit your tie, and then sew down here, and same thing, and then you sew down here. So obviously you want to make sure that these holes are going to be falling on the exact same spot. Measure it out in advance, I just eyeballed it. Then sew down on the lines you have just marked. This is what it looks on the inside. There's our 2 holes. I just made the holes a little bit more sturdy by giving them a top stitch around. Then we are attaching the waistband to the skirt. I'm starting on the inside of the skirt with the slightly smaller side of the waistband. Instead of sewing it like a regular bias strip, we're just going to do a top stitch down. But you won't be able to see this stitch from the outside because if you remember, we made the outside part of the waistband 1 millimeter bigger than the inside. We need to wedge in the strap. You want to wedge the ties in here in the middle. So then you match it up like this, and then you just sew right along that line there. That would wedge the waistband and it will look super clean from the outside. Give it a snip, flip it, and then top stitch the outside of the waistband. You can definitely add interfacing in between the waistband if you would like to make it more sturdy, but I just decided to give another stitch around all the edges of the waistband like so. If I have one tip that I want to leave with you guys, please choose a easy fabric to work with, whether it might be a cotton or a linen, something that isn't too slippery. I think my biggest downfall with this project was the fact that my fabric was like a polyester slippery sort of base, and it really ate up all of my time. This is really simple to make, so I don't want it to take you guys extra time like it did for me. I would say the only bits that might be a little bit difficult is getting the waistband done, like the hole in the waistband, and maybe doing the darts, but I don't think that part's too difficult. I can't wait to see if you make this. Please share it with me. I love seeing your recreations. Also, feel free to send me any suggestions on what you think I should make next. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon in the next video.